time for the next Soul Finder podcast. And Kathy, I've got a topic, kind of a cocky topic.
Yes.
But this happened to me today. I went to church today.
Okay.
And you are what's your exact title? Spiritual, what do you call yourself?
I don't have an exact title.
I love that. I love that. I kind of knew the answer to that question. I love that. But Kathy is a spiritual healer, as far as I'm concerned, is a good way to put it. Definitely have your beliefs and your the lessons you can teach about frequency levels and all that. And at first, I thought that really went against my Christian beliefs.
Right.
But it doesn't. Can you explain real quickly how it doesn't?
Because no matter what anyone believes, we all combine together in a way that we most respect what others believe. It's an open field. Just like there's 1,000 different breakfast cereals, there's 1,000 different ways people can believe.
Mm-hmm.
And you get to pick that.
Yeah.
But others may not respect that.
No, they may not. And after talking to you just a couple podcast recording sessions, I realized that a lot of what you teach can be put into any of those breakfast cereals.
Yes.
That you refer to.
Yes.
You can incorporate them into your religious beliefs, your faith, your life philosophy.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew I was recording with you today, but I still think I would have thought about you when this happened today. I went to church today.
Mm-hmm.
I go to a Baptist church. It just makes sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
And part of the Christian belief is that, all you have to do, I'm going to simplify it, is that we go to heaven based on our belief, not based on our acts, not based on, I go to church every Sunday, so I'm going to heaven. No, it's deeper than that. It's a belief. It's not just going through the actions. And, you've talked to me long enough. That really works within my kind of frame of mind. I'm all about beliefs and backing up your beliefs with your actions.
Mm-hmm.
But first, it's a belief.
Mm-hmm.
And then you prove that you are true to your beliefs.
Right.
With your actions.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people can't understand that, and I understand that. That it seems...
Well, that's your integrity. Either you live by your own, I call it inner moral code, what you believe is right and wrong, or you're living out of integrity with yourself, and that's going to create problems for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is. That's a great way to put it. The integrity of what you believe. Don't just say it.
And if you betray yourself, you're causing yourself problems.
Yeah. And
it's no different than somebody else betraying you.
And to me, it's the belief that comes first and then the actions. You don't do a good deed and then decide I'm a good person.
Mm-hmm.
You decide I'm a good person and you do a good deed.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Is that too simple?
Well, no, because I believe that all thoughts come from beliefs.
Mm-hmm.
Beliefs are the first thing, and then that we formulate our thoughts off of our belief system. And then our emotions come as a result of the thoughts we have.
The other thing about Christianity that makes sense to me is, and it doesn't make sense to, it keeps a lot of people from becoming Christian. And I understand this, is that it's a very forgiving faith that expects you to fall short. Part of the faith is knowing that you can get something you don't deserve based on your belief. And you don't deserve it, because you're going to fall short. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to make bad decisions. It's how you recover from those bad decisions. That just makes sense to me.
Right.
And to other people, it makes no sense at all. And I completely understand that. The other thing, a lot of people and a lot of Christians screw this up, and this is their fault, is truly it's very non-judgmental. Now, Christians will screw that up big time.
Yes.
I've been fortunate to be surrounded by some Christians who truly walk that walk, and they're not judgmental to a lot of serious stuff. They have the belief that, hey, that's not for you. The way you want to live is not for me to judge. Now, there's a lot of others that go overboard to judge. That's not the path I've been taught. Right. Or the path I want to go.
Right.
What you do with your personal life that's for people higher than my pay grade to judge.
What do you think about this thought?
Love your questions.
What about if we think about people on the healing path and we talk about starting out being a beginner movement along the healing path. Then we can get to intermediate, then advanced, whatever, okay? So we're somewhere along the healing path. What if the Christians you're talking about that say,
the judge?
Yes, that are judging. If they're judging maybe because they're a beginner on the healing path, and the ones you're talking about say have no judgment are at a much higher level on the healing path.
I think that's very possible. Yes.
They're still labeling themselves as Christian, but they're just different places on the healing path.
That's very possible.
And that is why, see, the closer you are to the beginning of the healing path, the more judgmental, the more you control things, the more you have expectations, the more you resist things, the more that you see things in a black or white way. There's no gray area. It's all about control and fear. These people are the beginners, most of them, not all, but most of them on the healing path, they're in a lot of fear too.
Well, let's get controversial with a specific topic.
Okay.
And I'll tell you the way I handle it. Abortion.
Yes.
I'm incredibly pro-life. Incredibly pro-life. But I don't know if there is a group of people that I feel, there's a better way to put it, because when I say feel sorry for, that means I'm putting myself above them in a certain way, and I'm not. And there's a better way for me. Put it to you this way. I would never, ever, 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 ever want to be a woman put in that position to where I had to make that decision.
Right.
I have a great amount of the word empathy for women who have been put in that position.
Right.
And have made the choice to give up their baby, to abort their baby. I think it's wrong. It goes against my religious beliefs. It goes against my faith. But I don't judge you for doing that. If that's what you had to do, if that's what you did, it's not the decision I would make. And I feel bad for you that you're in that position. And I literally pray that it doesn't impact you in a negative way going forward. But you're not evil. You were in a bad position. You may have put yourself in that bad position. I'm not taking responsibility away from you, but we all make bad decisions.
Right. It was a choice.
And even though it goes against my religious beliefs, it's not my job to judge you.
Right.
Now, I will tell you this. I do think it's my job, if I can try and talk to you and before you make that decision, and I'm able to say, look, it's your decision, but here's, and not be militant about it.
Right.
And make it clear, I'm still going to love you no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to judge you just because you make the wrong decision in my head.
Okay, wrong decision in your head.
Yeah.
Yes. Because you never know anyone unless you've walked in their shoes.
And that's not for me to judge. That's
right.
That's a biblical thing. And if it's that bad, which I think it is, then that's still not for me to judge.
Right.
It's for me to be supportive and to be loving and to care and maybe try and use some influence to keep someone from making a decision I think is going to hurt them in the long run. But even then, it's not my decision.
Right. Right. It's still their choice. If they ask you for advice, you can present them with the other side or whatever if they want to hear it.
But there's a lot of Christians that will be militant about it or
have their opinion.
And they don't feel any stronger than I feel about the topic. I just deal with it differently. And by the way, the Christians I know and that I surround myself with, they may be a little bit more aggressive than I am, but at the end of the day, especially if they come across someone who is making the decision or has already went ahead and made the decision, they're welcoming. They're not, well, you can't come to our church because you did this. As a matter of fact, you did this, you need to come to our church. So we can talk some sense and no.
Right. No, yes, that's a very touchy topic, and lots of people have their opinions on it.
That's why I chose that topic, because it's probably as extreme as you can get.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the things that people run into a lot is they go to someone to talk about their problems, or they want to go to someone to talk about their problems, but too many times they have been around people that judged them for their problems, so they don't seek out help. And so far, I have to say I have been able to stay very impartial and not judge people with whatever they bring in that they've been through, because lots of empaths, and this is sad that they get to this point, but lots of empaths believe, oh, I can't go tell anyone my troubles because it will make them suffer too much to hear that something like that actually happened. Mm-hmm. And that's also a diversion technique to keep from getting help. If you see what I mean? Because if you're saying, oh, I can't tell anybody because they'll get too upset. And I've had clients in that mode where, oh, I can't lay on you what happened to me because it'd be too much for you.
Isn't that all the more reason to get help?
Of course it is. And like I said, it can be a diversion technique, but it can also be the fear that they are going to cause you pain or cause you upset. And that is a beginner on the path again, because they don't understand the whole thing. And they don't understand that if they don't change and heal themselves, they're not helping the world.
Yeah.
They're helping us stay stuck. And we all need to find the ways that helps us raise our vibrational frequency so we can raise it on the planet, because it's only with numbers of higher vibrational frequency people that we can change things and work with society or people individually.
Yeah.
And there seems to be, I mean, this is the beginning of 23, but it seems to be, I'm having more and more clients that are very, very lonely, very depressed, talking about, why am I here? What's the point of this life? And it's sad, but it seems to be another wave that's really affecting a lot of people right now.
You know what, though? I don't know what the point of this life is,
I know.
but I'm going to make the most of it.
Right. We're here.
And that's kind of where I'm going with what happened to me today. I found myself sitting in church, and this is where I think I would have thought about you either way, but maybe since I had the session with you, say I'm honest. But Christianity, knowing you're going to fall short, knowing you're going to make mistakes, knowing that it's how you recover, knowing that you're not alone. And I found myself sitting there alone. I didn't go to church with anyone. And listening to my pastor I love, we're friends, talk about this. And it was really Christianity 101, the lesson he was giving. It was, if you've been Christian for more than 13 months, you knew everything he was saying. But just given the basics of Christianity, and I was sitting there thinking, I wish everyone could live the way I do, with in a good way, knowing, hey, I'm gonna screw up. The pressure's not on me to be 100%.
Right.
It's
how much that one single one would help so many people.
Yeah.
If they could just accept that.
And, my friends are going to screw up. My pastor's going to screw up. And he's not going to judge me when I screw up. He's going to help me through it. My real true friends are not going to judge me when I screw up. They're going to help me if I screw up, if I want that help. I'm going to know when I screw up. And, and that's what I think a lot of people get wrong. It's not an excuse to screw up just because you'll be forgiven.
Right.
But it's an acknowledgement that you're going to fall short. And the gift of heaven, or and you may tackle me for this one, the gift of moving up in frequency is knowing that you've got things to learn and that you're never finished. And I've heard, you've said that before. So screwing up is just learning.
Exactly. And it's the perfectionism is the problem of that. Perfectionism that's drilled into children, and then they feel like they can't make a mistake. And if you put that on top of an empath child, it's 100 times as bad. An empath child, I know this is, only empaths will understand this, but if you're a sensitive empath, someone telling you that you crossed your T wrong can be like a sword stuck in your gut.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they were only saying, we prefer that our T's be crossed this way. But it feels like like you did the worst thing in the world. And that's an empath that occurs to.
Let me run this by you. There are 3 women that have been in my life that have great fathers. The fathers are just fantastic, and they're daddy's girls. All 3 of them share something very much in common. And all 3 of the fathers share something very much in common. The fathers, they were the ones handing out the discipline when the girls were growing up, but they never handed it out personally. They always told mom
to do it.
Ground her. Make sure she didn't go out with him. Her dress is too short. So mom was always the one
carrying out. And
dad was the one going to the gymnastics meets and the soccer games and the dance recitals, and never yelled, never gave any discipline, even though he really was. It wasn't that he didn't care. He just didn't want to be the bad guy. And so all three of these guys raised girls that love their dads. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Mm-hmm.
Except all three of these girls, they share the same thing. They're well into their 40s now.
Mm-hmm.
And all they want to do is please their dads.
Mm-hmm.
And to the point where that crossing their T's that you just described, the pressure to be perfect for their dad has caused big time stress. And I just can't help but think that if dad had been there every once in a while to say, look, you're doing this, rather than having mom do it, it would have alleviated a lot of stress to make sure they're 100% pleasing dad.
So I wonder, too, is there the possibility the dads are narcissistic?
I think there is, but not these guys.
Okay.
These guys I think they have great intentions. They wanted to have great relationships with their girls.
Mm-hmm.
They wanted to be...
the favorite daddy.
Yeah, they wanted the girls to be daddy's girls.
Mm-hmm.
And they just... I mean, it takes experience, and you unfortunately only get one chance sometimes.
Right. Right. But it's also, like you're saying, it's not a healthy relationship.
Well, that perfection, that need for perfection, whether it's a daughter trying to please dad, me trying to please God, you trying to, I mean, that failed to recognize that no one really expects true perfection out of you.
Mm-hmm.
And if they do, they're expecting way too much.
Exactly.
And the failure to recognize that can cause you so many problems well into your adulthood.
Oh, and past.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It certainly can. And perfectionism is one of the...
I mean, you've got great views of your dad, but the truth of the matter is you are just stressed out beyond belief trying to please this man who knows you're going to make mistakes. And that's why I say I wish people could live the way I do.
Mm-hmm.
Now, my mistakes aren't huge, but they're still there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we all have them.
My I hope I haven't used this on this podcast, but my pastor, are you a football fan at all?
Yeah, I've watched football. I understand the game.
My pastor's a big-time Cowboy fan. And now he may have stolen this from someone else. He's not beyond that. But he was the president of the Southern Baptist Convention at one point, which meant that a lot of Sundays he preached in other
churches,
other states.
Oh, other states.
And so he'd be flying home on a Sunday night, and he couldn't watch the Cowboy game, but he DVR'd it. And he's a major Cowboy fan. And he would get on the plane, and since he flew so much, he'd be first-class flyer. And he would tell the flight attendant, he'd say, look, I know that there's other people on this plane, and you can't control it. And then he'd crack a joke, but there's always some Walter Cronkite pilot that wants to get on the radio and say, and by the way, the Cowboys won 52-17 today. If you could get him not to make that announcement, because I'm going straight home and I'm watching the game, and I don't want to know what the score was. He said sometimes, most of the time actually, they'd honor that, but sometimes they wouldn't, and he wouldn't know what the score was. He would know what the final score was. And he said, but you know what was amazing? Even if I knew the final score, I would go home and I would watch the game. And if I knew at the end of the day the Cowboys were going to win the game, it was much easier to watch Emmitt Smith fumble the ball or Troy Aikman throw an interception. I could watch something bad happen to the Cowboys if I knew they were going to win
at the end.
But if I didn't know the outcome of the game, I would flip out. what are you doing?
Uh-huh.
What's going on? But if I knew at the end we're going to win, everything is fine. You threw an interception, no big deal. And he would equate that to Christianity. Hey, look, no matter what happens, I know at the end of the day I'm going to heaven.
Oh my. It's weird what our belief system does to us.
Yeah.
And that most of it's unconscious.
But frequencies, we've gotten into this before. You're always evolving.
Right.
You're always and
Well,
I like the way you say it.
Not always. Some people choose not to evolve.
Can you go backwards?
Well, sure, you can go backwards. Most don't. Most pretty much stay where they're at because they don't want to change. And to go backwards, they're going to have to change. So they're just staying where they are because they don't want to put forth the effort, or they don't know how to put forth the effort to change what they're stuck in.
Among other things, what I really like about one of the things that you say all the time is, right now, I am of the belief.
Yes, because it can change.
Yeah.
I could have a belief change in a matter of 30 minutes. Because if I'm presented with material or I all of a sudden have a light bulb moment, it could change things.
But you're not going to be easily influenced.
No.
Anything you change is going to come from you.
Yes, because I determine my own inner moral code.
Mm-hmm.
I don't let someone else set it for me.
Now, you may be presented facts from someone else or beliefs from someone else, and you may decide, you know what, okay, that makes sense. But it's going to be based on your thoughts, not someone else's.
Right. I don't take it. Someone can say, dogs are all white-haired. And because someone says that to me does not mean I'm going to believe it.
Do you have a favorite type of client?
Yes, I do.
What kind?
My favorite type of client is the ones that come in with the determination to heal.
Okay.
And they are ready to do the work. Now, a lot of people come in thinking they're ready to do the work until they get a taste of it, and then they usually don't come back.
Interesting. In your mind, how much work is it? Is it a lot of work in your mind?
Hell yes.
Okay.
It is. It is a trip. It is a trip in learning emotion. That's all it is. It's a trip in learning how to process emotion through the human body. Because our soul unites with the car we're given, the human body. But in order to live on the planet Earth, our dashboard is emotions. And if we all would just feel it, heal it, release it, we'd all be in a place where our vibrational frequencies would continue to rise more rapidly, and we would all reach that level of unconditional self-love. We're all one. We're here to support each other. We're here to help each other instead of being opposing to everything and everyone.
Interesting.
That's what I believe. Today.
How different are your clients?
Very.
Okay, so you work with a variety of people.
Huge variety of people. Babies all the way up to
How do you work with a baby?
80 years old. Babies are very receptive to high frequency energy. Babies.
We're talking about babies that can't even talk yet?
Yes.
Wow, okay.
Oh, yes. They can sense spirits. They can, so they're very receptive to like a loving high frequency energy because they know that's good and they know it helps them feel better. And I used to work with babies when I was a checkout, and people, would come in walking with a baby, and they'd have to stay up by the counter for a while before they got seated. And the babies and I would make eye contact. And lots of times the parent would end up turning around to see where the baby was looking because they were so intent. They would just keep looking at me. But I did a lot of energy work just through the eyes.
That would freak me out.
But it's so beautiful. It's so sweet.
I get freaked out when my dog stares at me.
Well, that's because your dog's trying to heal you and work with you. You need to accept it and talk back.
Babies.
Oh, yes.
So that's a big believer that will take their baby to you.
The lots of babies, just the energetic healing can relax them so much. It can help bring them out of tenseness, anxiety that might be causing them to have colic or crying a lot. Mm-hmm. There's lots of different ways that energy healing can help babies.
What a great compliment. To me, that's a great compliment to you.
It's beautiful to work with babies and little kids.
Do you usually work with their parents also if you're working with a baby?
Sometimes. Usually I always end up, the kids come to me after I've seen the moms because we end up working, the kids are involved in mom's life and we usually end up getting around to them.
The kids understand what's going on?
A lot of times kids understand it better than the adults.
Really? Mm-hmm. That kind of makes sense to me.
Mm-hmm. Because our kids keep coming in. Our kids always know more than the parents know. Always, in my opinion, today.
That sounds threatening. Always.
Because our collective consciousness believes that kids don't know anything, and that we should dominate them and we should control them and tell them what to do and when to do it. And that's not the case. Children need their freedom so they don't feel restricted.
Do you think kids have changed over the past couple decades?
Well, of course.
How every generation says, man, we were so much tougher than this new generation.
Right.
Well,
of course they're changing because think about it. They come in smarter than the parents every generation. But they come in already prepared for where the world is. So we got 3-year-olds that know more computer stuff than I know. Okay. I mean, they come in already willing and it's already in them. There is a generation gap, in my opinion, today. I believe in that. Because
in favor of the youth.
Yes, because the youth come in more intelligent than what the older ones are.
Lazier?
Huh?
Are they lazier?
Depending on the generation, you could say that with some, but it's more of individuals is what makes up the whole. And yes, you're always going to find some individuals that's very lazy.
Because you always hear the older generation complaining about the newer, no matter what.
I had to ride a horse for 3 miles and then walk 2 more miles to get to the school bus stop.
And that proves that we're smarter than you. Because we found a way not to have to ride a horse to school. All right, well, I think we've exhausted that. Once again, this has been all about Frito. But no, love these sessions with you. Love recording with you. KathyDCarter.com, the Soul Finder podcast. Check out the audio stream by going to FritoNation.com or just go straight to KathyDCarter.com to get all the information that you can expect to need to get introduced to Kathy and what she does.